chosen one. Do you know what it feels like when God Himself stops everything just to look at you? Not the pastor, not the church, not the voices on your TV telling you to be positive. I'm talking about the Creator, the one who set the stars in motion, pausing eternity itself to speak directly into your life. And I need you to hear me clearly right now. This is not a video you stumbled on by accident. At your age, with everything you've carried, every heartbreak you've buried, every prayer you whispered in the dark when no one else was listening, you didn't click this for entertainment. You clicked because something inside you is starving for truth. You've been the strong one, haven't you? The one everyone leans on, the one who keeps it together. But late at night, when the house is quiet and the loneliness creeps in, you've asked God, why me? Why does it feel like my season never comes? Why do I feel forgotten? Here's what God wants you to know. Your season of waiting is over. But listen to me carefully. If you click away from this message, if you let distraction win, you may delay what heaven is trying to release into your life right now. The Creator of galaxies hit pause. The universe stopped spinning, and He leaned in to whisper something so urgent, so powerful, that angels are watching to see if you'll hear it. Before this video ends, I'm going to show you exactly why certain doors slammed in your face, why some people walked away, why you felt invisible. And I'm going to reveal the one shift, not 10 steps, not a formula, one shift that can rewrite the rest of your story, no matter how many years you think you've lost. Now, if something's already stirring in your spirit, don't ignore it. Hit that like button right now, not for me, but so this message reaches the others. God is trying to wake up. Subscribe, because deep down you know this isn't just content. This is a divine appointment. And in the comments, type the number 99. That's your way of saying, God, I'm listening, I'm here. And listen, thank you to every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're sowing seeds of light for others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful. Your presence here, your time, your attention, it all matters. Now, lock in, because what I'm about to tell you could change everything. God paused eternity for you. Let's begin. Part 2, diagnosing their pain. You've felt left behind. Do you know what it's like to sit in a room full of people and still feel completely alone? Do you know what it's like to look at your life and ask, is this really all there is? Do you know what it's like to pray and wonder if God even remembers your name? Because I need you to know something right now. The pain you feel at 2 a.m. when sleep won't come. The ache in your chest when you look at old photographs. The quiet grief of watching your body slow down while your spirit still burns. God sees it. Every bit of it. You've walked through death. Maybe it was your spouse. Maybe it was a sibling, a friend who knew you when you were young and full of fire. You've sat in hospital rooms under fluorescent lights that hum too loud. You've signed papers you never thought you'd have to sign. You've buried people you thought would bury you. And somewhere along the way, the phone stopped ringing as much. The kids got busy. The grandkids got older. The holidays got quieter. And you found yourself sitting at a table with an empty chair. And you didn't say anything. Because what's the point? They wouldn't understand anyway. You look at the pill bottles lined up by the sink like little soldiers. You see the cane in the corner. The magnifying glass you need now just to read the word. And something inside you whispers, I'm running out of time. Did I miss it? Did I waste my chance? Let me tell you what's really happening. You replay the old mistakes, don't you? The time you should have spoken up but stayed silent. The time you gave everything and got nothing back. The doors you walked through that led to dead ends. The doors that slammed in your face so hard you can still hear the echo. And late at night, when the house is so quiet you can hear your own heartbeat, you ask God the question you're afraid to say out loud. Did you forget about me? Is this it? Is my story over? Listen to me, right now. Lock in. Here's what God told me to tell you, and I'm not sugarcoating this because you don't need sugar, you need truth. You are not behind. You're right on schedule with Him. Heaven is not looking at your age. Heaven is not counting your wrinkles, your gray hair, your slow steps. Heaven is looking at your availability, your willingness, your open heart. You think you missed your moment? Let me tell you about Abraham. God called him at 75 years old. 75. And Abraham didn't just get a blessing, he became the father of nations. Moses was 80 when he stood before Pharaoh. 80 years old, with a stutter and a criminal record. And God said, "Now you're ready." The Bible says in Joel 2:25, "I will restore to you the years that the swarming locust has eaten, not some of the years, not a few good days here and there, the years, plural. The decades you think are gone," God says, "I'm bringing them back, with interest." But here's what you need to understand. If you were truly finished, you wouldn't be breathing right now. The fact that you woke up this morning, that you can still hear my voice, that something inside you is stirring as I speak, that's proof, living proof, that God is not done writing your story. You are not a period. You're not even a comma. You're a semicolon. The sentence isn't over. It's just pausing before the next powerful clause. And I know what you're thinking. But I'm tired. I've been through too much. I don't have the strength I used to have. Good, because that's exactly where God does His best work. 2 Corinthians 12:9. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. When you can't, He can. When you're empty, He fills. When you're broken, He rebuilds. Your weakness is not disqualification. It's your invitation. But let me ask you something, and I want you to really sit with this. What if the delays weren't punishments? What if every closed door, every no, every time you felt overlooked? What if that was God protecting you from something that would have destroyed you? What if He was preparing you for something so big, so holy, so specific to this exact moment, that you needed every single year of your life to be ready for it? Think about it. Would you trust a 5-year-old with the wisdom you carry now? Would you trust someone who's never been broken to counsel someone whose heart is shattered? No, you wouldn't. And neither would God. He's been building something in you, something the world can't see yet, but it's there, under the surface, under the gray hair and the tired eyes and the aching joints. There is fire, there is purpose, there is a roar that hasn't been released yet. And here's the thing that's going to blow your mind. God sounds urgent right now, not because you're running out of time, but because it's finally time. The preparation is over. The waiting is done. The door you've been standing in front of for years, it's about to open. But you have to be awake for it. You have to be listening. You have to stop believing the lie that your best days are behind you. Because I'm telling you right now, as someone who's watched God move in the lives of people twice your age and half your strength, your most powerful chapter hasn't been written yet. The empty chair at your table, God's about to fill it in ways you never imagined. The phone that stopped ringing, it's about to ring with divine appointments. The loneliness you've carried like a stone in your chest, God is about to replace it with purpose so strong it will make you weep with gratitude. But here's the part that's going to make you uncomfortable, and I need you to stay with me. God is not just calling you to receive, He's calling you to rise. Not as you were, but as you are, scars and all, tired bones and all, broken heart and all. Because the world doesn't need another young, energetic, Instagram perfect leader. The world needs someone who's been through hell and still believes in heaven. Someone who's buried loved ones and still has faith. Someone who's been knocked down and gotten back up so many times they've lost count. The world needs you. So let me ask you this, and don't you dare look away. If God himself paused eternity to get your attention, what are you going to do about it? Because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly why God sounds angry. Not at you, but for you. And once you understand that, everything changes. Stay with me, because what comes next is going to shake you awake. Part 3. God's anger as love wearing fire. Now listen to me very carefully, because what I'm about to tell you might shake you, but it might also save your life. God said something to me that stopped me cold. He said, "I'm pissed." And before you close this video, before you think I'm being disrespectful, stay with me. Because what he meant by that is going to unlock something inside you that's been chained for decades. God is not mad at you because you've failed. He's not mad because you've sinned or stumbled or lost your way. He's mad because he sees everything he planted inside you, still sitting on the shelf, unopened, unused, dying. You know what that feels like? It's like watching someone you love step into traffic on Fifth Avenue and you scream their name. Not because you're cruel, but because if you don't shout, they're going to die. That's what's happening right now in your life. God is raising his voice, not to condemn you, to wake you up. Think about this. When a parent grabs their child's arm right before they run into danger, that grip might hurt. It might leave a mark. But that pain? That's love wearing fire. That's urgency wrapped in protection. And right now, God is gripping your soul. He's saying, I didn't bring you this far to watch you give up now. I didn't carry you through hell just to let you settle in mediocrity. You see, there's a difference between anger that destroys and anger that rescues. The Bible is full of it. In John chapter 2, Jesus walked into the temple and flipped tables. He didn't politely ask the money changers to leave. He drove them out with a whip. Why? Because his Father's house had been turned into a marketplace. Because sacred space was being dishonored. And beloved, your life is sacred space. Your body, your mind, your heart, they are the temple of the living God. And for too long, you've let fear set up shop. You've let disappointment build a booth. You've let regret charge admission to your peace. And God is flipping tables. He's clearing out everything that's been blocking the flow of his purpose in your life. And yes, it might feel violent. It might feel uncomfortable. But this is not destruction. This is renovation. When a doctor cuts into flesh to remove cancer, it's painful. But that pain is not cruelty. It's precision. It's the knife of a healer who refuses to let poison stay in your body. That's what God is doing right now. He's cutting away the lies, the shame, the old identities that were never yours to carry. And here's why this matters so much. Here's why God's intensity is rising in your life right now. Because eternity is on the line. You think you have time. You think, maybe next year, maybe when things settle down, maybe when I feel ready. But God sees the clock. He sees how many sunrises you have left, and he refuses, absolutely refuses, to let you die with your song still inside you. Proverbs 29:18 says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish, not struggle, not suffer, perish." That means you can be alive and still be dead. You can be breathing and still be buried. And God is saying, not on my watch. So when you hear his voice getting louder in your life, when you feel the pressure increasing, when it seems like everything is being shaken at once, don't run from it. Lean into it. Because that fire you're feeling, that's not hell. That's the refining process. Malachi 3:3 says God sits like a refiner of silver, watching over the flame, heating the metal until every impurity rises to the surface. And he doesn't walk away. He watches, he stays. He knows exactly how much heat you can handle, because the goal isn't to destroy you. The goal is to reveal the pure gold that's been hiding under all that dirt. Now let me ask you something, and I want you to answer this in your heart, not out loud. When was the last time you felt fully alive? Not happy, not comfortable, alive. When was the last time you woke up with fire in your chest, knowing exactly why you're here? For most of you, it's been years, maybe decades. You've been surviving, not thriving, existing, not living, going through the motions while your soul screams for meaning. And that's why God is pissed. Not at you, for you. Because he knows what you're capable of. He knows the destinies tied to your obedience. He knows the people who won't get healed, won't get hope, won't get saved, because you stayed silent, because you stayed small, because you let fear win. Sometimes love doesn't sound soft. Sometimes it sounds like a shout in a burning building. Sometimes it sounds like, get up, move, now, before it's too late. And that's the sound you're hearing in your spirit right now. That restlessness, that discomfort, that feeling like the walls are closing in. That's not depression. That's not anxiety. That's God compressing you into the next version of yourself. And I know it's hard. I know you're tired. I know you've been disappointed so many times that hope feels dangerous. But hear me clearly. This is not the time to quit. This is the time to stand. Because in just a few minutes, I'm going to walk you through something I call the divine checklist. A simple, clear way to see exactly where God is trying to wake you up, exactly where the fire is burning, and exactly what he's asking you to release. But before we get there, I need you to understand something foundational. God's anger is not your enemy. It's your alarm clock. It's the sound of heaven refusing to let you sleepwalk through your destiny. And if you can embrace that, if you can stop resisting the pressure and start surrendering to the process, everything changes. So take a breath, steady yourself, because what comes next is going to require courage. Are you ready to see what God is really saying? Are you ready to stop running and start rising? Then stay with me. Because the divine checklist is about to reveal exactly where you stand and exactly where you're about to go. Part 4. Sacred stillness, creating a holy pause. Now listen to me closely, because what I'm about to ask you to do might be the hardest thing you've done in years. I need you to stop, not just pause the world around you. I mean really stop. Because here's the truth nobody wants to tell you. You can't hear God in the chaos. You can't receive divine instruction while your mind is drowning in noise. And right now, your life is loud. The TV's always on. The phone won't stop ringing. Your mind won't stop replaying yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's worries. And God is whispering. But you can't hear him. You know what breaks my heart? I've watched people spend decades praying for answers, begging God to speak, crying out for direction, while their entire life is designed to drown out his voice. The news is screaming fear. Social media is feeding comparison. Well-meaning friends are giving advice that has nothing to do with God's plan for you. And in the middle of all that noise, heaven is trying to get through. But you're too distracted to notice. Let me take you back. Moses didn't hear God's voice in the marketplace. He heard it on the mountain, alone, away from the noise of Egypt, away from the voices telling him he wasn't good enough, wasn't young enough, wasn't qualified enough. He had to climb, he had to separate, he had to create sacred space. And when he did, God showed up in fire. Jesus didn't receive his mission in the temple surrounded by people. He went into the wilderness, 40 days, alone, silent, hungry, vulnerable. And it was there, in the sacred stillness, that the Father spoke clearly. That's where the enemy was defeated. That's where destiny was solidified. You see, The wilderness wasn't punishment, it was preparation. And right now, God is calling you into your own wilderness. Not a physical place, a spiritual one. A place where you turn off everything that competes for your attention and you say, God, I'm yours. Speak. I'm finally ready to listen. Here's what I want you to understand. Sacred space isn't about location, it's about intention. It's about creating a moment where nothing else matters but you and God. No interruptions, no distractions, just Him, just you, just truth. And I know what you're thinking. I don't have time for that. But let me ask you something. Do you have time to stay stuck? Do you have time to keep circling the same mountain? Do you have time to live another year without clarity, without breakthrough, without the answers you've been begging for? Because that's what's happening. You're running so fast, so busy, so overwhelmed, that you're missing the very moment God is trying to give you. So, here's what we're going to do right now. And I mean right now. Not later. Not after you check your messages. Right now. I want you to sit back, wherever you are. Just lean back, unclench your jaw, drop your shoulders. You've been carrying too much for too long, and your body knows it. Now close your eyes. I know that feels vulnerable. I know it feels strange, but trust me, this is sacred ground. Put your hand on your heart. Feel that? That's not just a heartbeat. That's the rhythm of life God breathed into you. That's proof you're still here, still chosen, still needed. Now feel that tightness in your chest, that knot in your throat, that weight you've been carrying for so long you forgot it was even there. That's not just emotion. That's God's hand knocking on the door of your soul. He's been knocking for a long time, and today you're finally answering. So right now, I want you to breathe, slow, deep, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Again, in and out. One more time, in, hold it. Now, release. Now in the quiet of your heart, I want you to say this. You don't have to say it out loud. Just let your spirit speak it. Lord, I'm listening. Speak. I'm here. Say it again. Mean it this time. Lord, I'm listening. Speak. I'm here. Do you feel that? That shift in the atmosphere? That's not your imagination. That's heaven responding. That's the presence of God meeting you exactly where you are. And here's what I need you to know. This moment right here, this sacred stillness, this is where transformation begins. Not in the big churches, not in the loud conferences, not in the perfect prayers you rehearsed. It's here, in the quiet, in the surrender, in the moment you finally stop running and you say, God, I trust you more than I trust my own understanding. If you're feeling something shift inside you right now, even if it's just a tear welling up, even if it's just your heart beating a little faster, I want you to do something. Type in the comments, I'm listening, Lord. That's your public act of faith. That's you saying to heaven and earth, I'm not running this time. I'm not hiding this time. God, I'm here. I'm ready. Speak. Because let me tell you something. The enemy doesn't want you in this space. He wants you distracted, busy, numb, confused. He wants you scrolling, worrying, doubting, overthinking. Why? Because he knows what happens when you get still. He knows what happens when you create sacred space. God shows up. And when God shows up, everything changes. Moses came down from the mountain with the 10 Commandments. His face was glowing so bright people couldn't look at him. Jesus came out of the wilderness with power, with clarity, with authority over every force of hell. And you? When you come out of this sacred space, you won't be the same. Your perspective will shift. Your faith will solidify. Your next steps will become clear. But you have to enter it first. So stay here with me. Don't rush this. Don't click away because it feels uncomfortable. Discomfort is where breakthrough lives. This is the holy pause your soul has been desperate for. And here's the question I need you to sit with as we move forward. What if the very thing you've been waiting for is waiting for you to get still enough to receive it? Part 5, the emotional storm. You're not crazy, you're being calibrated. Now I need to talk to you about something nobody else will say out loud. Something you've been too ashamed to admit even to yourself. You've been crying at night, haven't you? Out of nowhere, no warning. Just tears streaming down your face while you're sitting at the kitchen table at 2 a.m., staring at nothing. Or maybe you're lying in bed, wide awake, heart pounding, feeling like the walls are closing in. And you wonder, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just get it together? Let me tell you something right now. You are not losing your mind. You are not broken. You are being calibrated. Listen to me carefully. God is not punishing you with these sleepless nights. He's preparing you. The anxiety you feel in your chest, that heaviness that sits on your shoulders like a wet coat you can't take off, that's not evidence that God abandoned you. That's proof He's doing surgery on your soul. You see, transformation is not a gentle process. It never has been. Look at the Bible. Look at Jacob wrestling with the angel all night until his hip was dislocated. Look at Job sitting in ashes, scraping his skin with broken pottery, wondering why God went silent. Look at David in the cave, running for his life, crying out, "How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever?" These weren't weak people. These were chosen ones going through the storm before the breakthrough. And that's exactly where you are right now. You thought you were falling apart. But God says you're being pulled apart so He can put you back together the right way. What you called a breakdown might actually be the beginning of your breakthrough. What you thought was the end might just be God clearing out the middle so He can write a better ending. Joy rises out of nowhere, doesn't it? One moment you're fine, the next you're laughing at something small, feeling lighter than you have in years. Then, an hour later, fear grips your chest like a cold hand, and you don't even know why. Confusion comes in waves. Old memories surface, things you thought you'd buried decades ago. Faces, voices, regrets. That's not random. That's God bringing things to the surface so you can finally let them go. Think about the ocean during a storm. The water churns. It's violent. It's chaotic. But you know what that storm does? It brings nutrients from the deep up to the surface. It oxygenates the water. It creates the conditions for new life to thrive. Without the storm, the ocean would stagnate. It would die. That's what's happening inside you right now. God is stirring things up, not to drown you, but to bring healing to the surface. The tears you're crying, those are toxins leaving your body. The memories flooding back, those are wounds God is finally ready to close. The anxiety you feel, that's old fear being flushed out so faith can take its place. You've been carrying weight that was never yours to carry. Burdens from people who dumped their pain on you. Guilt from mistakes you've already been forgiven for. Shame from a world that told you that you weren't enough. And now, in this season, God is saying, enough, put it down. I'm pulling it out of you. And I know it hurts. I know it feels like you're coming undone. But listen, the caterpillar doesn't feel good in the cocoon either. It's dark, it's tight, it's suffocating. But that pressure, that's what forces the transformation. Without it, there's no butterfly. Without the storm, there's no wings. Now let me tell you something that might shock you. Certain people have pulled away from you recently, haven't they? People you thought would be there forever. Friends who stopped calling. Family members who suddenly feel distant. Maybe even someone you love deeply just walked away. And you've been asking God, why?
Look closer.
What did I do wrong?
You know
Why am I
this
always
face.
the one left behind?
It is
Here's the
mine.
truth. that's going to set you free. That wasn't rejection. That was protection. God didn't let them leave because you weren't good enough. He moved them out of the way because they weren't strong enough to walk with you where you're going. They couldn't handle the weight of your calling. They couldn't match the frequency of your new season. And if they had stayed, they would have slowed you down, or worse, pulled you back into the version of yourself that God is trying to bury. Proverbs 18:24 says, "There is a friend who sticks closer than a brother." Notice it says a friend singular, not a crowd, not a committee. God is not interested in giving you a fan club. He's interested in giving you the right people, the aligned people, the ones who can handle the anointing that's about to rest on your life. So when people fall away, don't chase them. Don't beg them to stay. Don't shrink yourself to make them comfortable. Let them go, because for every person God removes, He's about to send someone far better, someone who will recognize the gold in you that others mistook for dust. And I need you to understand this. The emotional storm you're in right now is not a sign that you're moving backward. It's a sign that you're moving upward. You don't feel this kind of turbulence on the ground. You only feel it when you're ascending. When a plane takes off, it shakes, it rattles, it feels unstable. But that shaking isn't the plane falling apart. It's the plane breaking free from the gravity that was holding it down. That's you. You are breaking free, and the enemy knows it. That's why the attacks have intensified. That's why the fear feels heavier. That's why your mind is louder than it's ever been. Hell is panicking because heaven is preparing you for something so big, so powerful, so undeniable, that when you finally step into it, even your enemies will have to admit, God is with that one. So no, you're not crazy. You're not broken. You're not too old, too tired, or too far gone. You are being recalibrated by the hand of God Himself. And when He's done with you, you won't just survive this season. You'll walk out of it transformed, unshakable, and anointed in ways that will make people ask, "What happened to you?" Now stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you next is the reason God allowed all of this to happen in the first place. And when you hear it, everything is going to make sense. Part 6. Behind the scenes, God's invisible chessboard. You've asked it, haven't you? In the quiet hours, when sleep won't come and the darkness feels heavier than it should.
I surrender.
You've whispered it through clenched teeth or sobbed it into your pillow.
Hear my
God,
prayer.
why is nothing happening? Why do I feel stuck? Why does everyone else seem to be moving forward while I'm still here, waiting? I need you to hear something that might shake you awake right now. What if I told you that while you thought God was silent, He was actually at war for you? What if every moment you called stagnant was actually God repositioning the entire chessboard of your life, moving pieces you couldn't even see, blocking attacks you never knew were coming? Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a master chess player, not some amateur, a grandmaster, the kind who sees 10, 15, 20 moves ahead. While you're panicking about the piece you just lost, He's already setting up your victory 3 moves from now. That's how God operates. And the reason you can't see it is because you're not supposed to yet. Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. You can't fathom it. Not yet. But that doesn't mean it's not happening. Think about a playwright, a real artist. He doesn't reveal the ending in Act 1. He builds tension. He plants clues. He lets characters struggle, doubt, even despair, because that's what makes the final scene so powerful. And right now, you're in the middle of the story. God is writing off stage, behind the curtain, in the unseen places where angels move and prayers are answered in ways you won't understand until later. But here's what I need you to see. Some of the things you called tragedies, they were divine interventions in disguise. That job you didn't get back in your 40s, The one you were convinced was your big break. The one that crushed you when they gave it to someone else. What if that company went bankrupt 2 years later? What if the stress of that position would have taken you out at 53? That relationship that fell apart in your 30s, the one you thought was the one that left you heartbroken, questioning God's plan, wondering if you'd ever feel whole again. What if that person would have destroyed you? What if staying in that relationship meant you'd never become the person you are today? That child who moved across the country, the one you prayed would stay close, the one whose absence still aches every holiday. What if their leaving forced you to finally deal with the loneliness you'd been avoiding your whole life? What if their distance is what's teaching you to stand on your own 2 feet before God, instead of leaning on them? I'm not saying it didn't hurt. I'm not minimizing your pain. But I am telling you this. From heaven's vantage point, some of those no's were your life being saved. Proverbs 16:9 says, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." You planned. God established. And sometimes what he established looked like destruction when it was actually protection. Let me get blunt with you for a second, New York style. Some of those people you thought you lost, that wasn't loss. That was God doing you a favor. That was him removing chaos so he could bring you clarity. That was him closing a door because the room behind it was on fire and you were too stubborn to see the smoke. And here's the part that'll mess you up if you really let it sink in. If you could see, just for 5 minutes, the things God blocked from reaching you, you would fall on your face in gratitude. The accidents that almost happened but didn't. The diseases that tried to take root but couldn't. The betrayals that were planned but never executed because God whispered to someone in a dream and changed their mind. The financial collapses that should have destroyed you, but somehow, inexplicably, you survived. You've been so focused on what you didn't get that you haven't stopped to thank God for what didn't get you. Job 5:12 says, "He thwarts the plans of the crafty, so that their hands achieve no success." God has been thwarting, blocking, intercepting, fighting battles in the spiritual realm that you'll never see until you stand before him and he shows you the replay. So here's my question to you, and I want you to sit with this. What if your season of nothing happening was actually God moving everything behind the scenes so that when your moment arrives, nothing can stop it? What if the delay wasn't denial, but preparation? What if the doors that closed weren't rejection, but redirection? What if the people who left weren't your loss, but your liberation? I'll tell you what I've seen in 50 years of walking with people through their darkest valleys. The ones who break through, the ones who finally step into the fullness of what God has for them, are not the ones who never doubted. They're the ones who chose to trust, even when the board looked like a mess. And here's the kicker. God doesn't owe you an explanation. He doesn't have to show you the playbook. Isaiah 55:8-9 says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." You're playing checkers. He's playing 4D chess across multiple timelines. And the fact that you can't understand his moves doesn't mean he's not winning. So if you can look back right now, even through tears, even through frustration, and admit, yeah, some of what hurt me actually saved me. If you can see even one moment where God's no turned out to be protection, not punishment, I want you to do something. Go to the comments right now and type these 5 words. Thank you, God, for the unseen. That's it, 5 words. But I'm telling you, that simple act of gratitude can unlock a level of peace you haven't felt in years. It shifts something in the spiritual realm. It tells God, I trust you, even with what I can't see. Because here's the truth, chosen one. The invisible chessboard is real. God has been moving. The playwright has been writing. And the final act? It's going to leave you breathless, but only if you stay in the theater. Only if you stop walking out in the middle of Act 2 because you don't understand the plot yet. So, let me ask you one more time. Can you trust him? Can you thank him? Even for the unseen? Because what's coming next is going to prove that every closed door, every heartbreak, every moment of waiting was worth it. And you're about to see why.